Welcome back, everybody, to Zombie Sunday. As we're first talking Fear the Walking Dead tonight, this is the mid-season finale for Season 6, Episode 7, called Damage from Inside. And, there wasn't a ton of amazing things that happened tonight, but there were some really big story developments that are definitely going to cause some havoc for the back half of Season 6. So let's get into those real quick and just talk about some of the fun stuff that happened. So we find Dakota being transported by Victor and some of the Rangers to some kind of safe house for some reason. It could be because of that occult. The beginning is the end. Could be because of those people. And I guess maybe Virginia wants to make sure that Dakota's fully safe. Anyways, we find that one of these random horses from one of the Rangers ends up showing up. Victor decides to go check it out. And while that happens, his column is attacked and the car disappears along with Dakota. Sometime later, we find that the car has been crashed and Dakota is again nowhere to be found. So Victor decides, knowing that his butt is completely on the line here when it comes to Virginia, she finds out her sister's gone. He decides to contact, amongst all people, Alicia and Charlie, and he wants their help to try and track her down because they know that Virginia's not watching Alicia's movements at the current point in time. Which is interesting because Virginia, if you remember the last time they were together, totally just kind of gave Alicia like the cold hand, and just said, hey, I can't do things when you're around. I need you to be gone. And basically had her reassigned. And so not a whole lot of love there right now between Alicia and Strand. Absolutely not. But she decides to go ahead and help him. I mean, he's hoping for, again, this power play that he's going to try and pull on Virginia and try and, I guess, take over that city eventually. I mean, I'm sure that old Strand would want to be the leader for this Lawton and all these other people too. But I don't think Alicia buys into it, and I don't think even us as an audience fully buys into it either. But he's very calculating and he's trying to work it out. So we move on. Alicia and Charlie get to finally make their way, and they come across this abandoned, or at least appears to be abandoned, log ranch. And Alicia says, I think it's possible she could be in here. It's the only big place around. And as they're heading in, they see some kind of really deformed walkers that have had some kind of attachments put onto them, kind of like deer antlers and horns and things like that, making them really creepy. And eventually, Alicia gets inside, leaving Charlie outside. Not the brightest move, but it happens all the same. And Alicia gets in there to check things out and comes across some guy down below playing Dr. Frankenstein or something, and has a walker tied up. Mind you, a walker that has a key emblem on the lapel of their little collar of their blazer or whatever. Clearly one of Virginia's people, and he's doing something to it. And so as Alicia's checking this out and kind of sees this is the madhouse of horrors, she decides to try and get out, and he gets the drop on her and tranquilizes her before she can get out. She awakens to find that this guy is some kind of taxidermist. I believe his name was Ed, if I'm not mistaken. And Ed ended up finding up Dakota, and he's trying to keep her safe. That's what he keeps. This is a story. And as I was watching this guy and his acting and what he was the point he was trying to get across, he was very believable. However, I just couldn't help but feel this eerie sense of something is just not right here. And I'd love to know, what did you guys think? Were you trusting Ed straight out the gate, or did you think there was a more ulterior motive behind that kind talk and just trying to keep him safe? And it doesn't take long before we find out that's what's happening, but not before Alicia decides to make a power move after finding Dakota and deciding to contact Virginia and say, hey, we found your sister, and if you let Charlie and I go free, then you can have your daughter, you can have your sister, and all will be well, but we want to be free from your reign, pretty much. And Virginia actually agrees to it, and I believe that she was willing to hold to that deal. Anything for her sister. She truly and absolutely loves Dakota. But Ed gets wind of this, because I guess he's probably over time and listening to the transmissions and this and that, and knew that was a channel for Virginia's people. And he even reveals at one point that his family, a wife and daughter apparently, were attacked by Rangers one day when he was out scavenging for supplies and this and that, and ended up killing his family. So I was like, oh, so maybe that's that darker motive. That's what he's driving at. Maybe he wants to kill Dakota as revenge or this or that. But even that ends up being a bit of a lie too, as he uses this creepy music to draw the zombies in his creations, mind you, in towards the house. Now the house is boarded up pretty well, but again, there's a decent little set of walkers right outside their front door. And He keeps saying that I just want to keep Dakota safe. This is all that's important to me. And again, he reveals the thing about his family and so forth. I'm kind of feeling a little bad for the guy, but I'm like, you have a gun on Alicia. I mean, this is not going to go well, and it doesn't. Alicia ends up battling him, and through the tossing and turning and this and that, he ends up landing on an old like an antelope horn or something like that, and it goes right through his body, and it looks like it's fatal. And as Alicia tells the girls to get going, because they have to find another way out of the house. I think there's a way up top. They have to kick down the boards. He reveals to Alicia that it wasn't Virginia and her lawmakers or whatever that killed his family. It was actually his own accident. When he was working on one of the zombies, one of them got loose and free and actually killed his wife and child. Totally his mistake. Totally bad move. And I wanted to feel bad for this guy, but the show had a very weird dynamic at this point in the episode. As I'm like, you drew a weapon on Alicia and friends. I'm like, I'm not so sure I'm supposed to be really feeling bad for you right now. Like, I kind of did, but I kind of didn't. I'd like to know how you felt. I mean, were you totally sympathizing with Ed and his situation? Or were you just kind of like confused a little bit? Like, why should I maybe care for this guy? Anyways, I kind of did, but like I said, kind of didn't. But as everything is at its height and craziness and the zombies actually start breaking to the front, Ed decides to do a noble thing and says, I will hold them here as long as I can, which ultimately just kind of open arms them as the zombies come forward and start chewing down on Ed for a midnight snack. And as the ladies are upstairs trying to bust out, Alicia decides to go down and hold them off as long as she can. She goes down and starts cracking and whipping heads all around. And then all of a sudden, we start seeing some kind of like figure outside also killing zombies. And we're like, who could this be? And I was like, oh no, is it Victor, or is it this Doomsday Cult people? Are they the ones that attacked the column? And it ended up being Morgan. Okay? And just to get straight down to it, we end up finding out that Morgan is the one that attacked Victor and the column and was trying to steal Dakota. I was like, oh, did not fully see that coming. I mean, I know he kept saying that, he was willing to do whatever was needed to win this war and to get his people back. But I just, we're definitely seeing a very dark side of Morgan here, as we also get to learn that not only is Alicia trying to use Dakota as a playing chip for the poker game, so is Morgan. Morgan wants to use Dakota, he reveals to Alicia, to basically try and get Grace and the other friends back, and so they can get to this new refuge at the dam area where they can be free of Virginia's reign or whatever, which you have to kind of wonder, how long is that really going to last? I mean, they live in the same damn area. I mean, how are they going to coexist? But this is the plan. This is where things are heading out. And I'm telling you, there was a scene that was right there when Alicia finds that out. She's like, you're not taking Dakota. And Morgan, he was ready. He goes, don't let this go down like this, please. And I'm like, you could totally tell Morgan was willing to kill, I believe, both or at least hurt them, Alicia and Charlie, to take Dakota from them. I mean, if Alicia had not agreed, that scene would have went a whole nother way. And I think it kind of shows a side of Morgan that, I got to be honest, I'm not really liking. This willing to do everything and anything. I mean, I have to understand from his point of view too, but I was just like, man, dude, I mean, these are your friends, your closest of friends. But I mean, now that he's looking for a pregnant Grace, he's willing to do whatever it takes to get to her. So it was pretty crazy. A couple of last things that happened. Victor ends up showing up at the log ranch, finds Alicia and them as they're just exiting. Nice timing. And he's very confused. He doesn't, pardon me, understand why Alicia is going against their original plan and, trying to get him in trouble. And she's like, we have other plans now, and we're taking Dakota with us. And anyway, Strand ends up drawing a gun on them, which I was like, wow, it's come to this. This is how it's going to go down. And we already saw parts of this earlier in the season, especially when Strand killed that guy, just so that they get the zombies away when they were trying to get that weapon out of that warehouse or whatever. And anyways, we've just been seeing some darker sides of Strand going on. And like I said, he's always calculating. He's always trying to figure out the next move, which is pretty cool about his character, but not so cool when it comes to our other friends and trying to get them to be free once again. So, as he's sitting there and he's trying to contemplate it, and he's got the gun on Alicia straight to her face too. And you can tell he's totally thinking about it, and he finally kind of pulls it off. Perfect Strand move. Is exactly what he would have done. So I love how the storytellers and the writers are keeping true to the characters. And he basically lets him go. He says, okay, I guess I have no choice than to let you go for now. But he gets back to Virginia, lets her know what's happened, that Dakota is with Morgan and them. He doesn't lie. He keeps it real. And, obviously Virginia is very mad about this, but she's now ready to unleash the full potential of Victor, if you will. as she reveals that a pregnant Grace has been in Lawton, at least for a while, in just a hidden room area. And she looks very healthy. Looks like she's doing just fine. But Virginia makes the call that she wants every friend that was rounded up of Morgan's that night in the previous season. And I think she's getting ready to do something really, really bad to get her sister back. Or at least some kind of trade, or maybe she's going to make some examples. I don't know. But this just, all the more, June, why didn't you take her out when you had the chance? I know, it's good storytelling, or at least pretty good storytelling, and keep the story progressing. But man, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. And with John, kind of out of the picture too, we have to kind of see where he's going to kind of come back into play. There are going to be a lot of crazy objectives trying to get accomplished in the back half of the season in 2021. So I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion over this mid-season finale. I love this first part of season 6. Somebody made a comment on one of my recent feeds saying, "Are you smoking something? Fear the Walking Dead is awful." And I'm like, not so much. I'm actually really enjoying it. Just kept it at that. There's a lot of really cool things going on, and it's keeping everything up in the air. Like, we just don't really know who is going to end out on top in the end of this. I mean, it's probably not going to be Virginia, but is Strand going to get his objective? Is it going to be Morgan? Is it going to be Alicia and Charlie? What they want to accomplish? Daniel's still in play. We got to get him back into the mix. There's a lot of different things going on. Don't forget about Dwight's wife Sherry and those masked people that want to kill Virginia. I mean, there are a lot of different elements going on, and this end is the beginning, people. I'm telling you, too many elements. I mean, not in a bad way, enough to keep us guessing so that we can't just say, oh, it's clearly going to end out like this, or obviously it's going to be like this. I mean, sure, I hope that the good guys are going to win in the end. That's probably the play. It's going to happen. But how is it going to go down? That's what I want to see. So I hope you guys come back to join me when season 6, the mid-season, comes back in 2021. When I find out, I'll definitely get a message out to you all, so we're all prepared and ready to rock and roll. And don't forget to come back out in about an hour and a half, and or maybe sometime on Monday morning when you're fully rested, and watch the World Beyond review. Surprisingly enough, guys, tonight's episode was another decent episode, and I think it's setting up for a pretty decent finale as well. So I'm invested at this point, and any of you that have watched my reviews or still watching at this point, you're invested as well. So let's see where this plays out, and because there's some big like wow moments at the very end of tonight's episode for World Beyond. So make sure to come and check that out. Other than that, guys, this is Mike with the Z-Man Show. Like and subscribe, of course, if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys at the next review. See you.